You had to see that twice. That's pretty funny though. So today is going to be a very short channeling. And so it's actually going to be on the fight or flight systems. So we are going to be dealing with some very deep topics. And some of these they've just been coming up over and over and over again for all of my online people, and so I really feel like they could help people. So we're going to start off tonight's episode of Starseed Activations by reading the post I wrote today. And so let me see. I have to get my kid to unlock a phone. Hold on one second, guys. Cody, what's the password? Cody! I'm coming. Hurry up. I told you. Oh, I need to write it down, my love. Thank you, my love. I love you. Crazy. Okay. I think everyone on Instagram just heard my son's code. We're going to have to change that. I don't even remember what it was. Anyway, welcome everyone. This was interesting. So we are going to start off speaking about the fight or flight systems. And so the fight or flight systems, we just experienced a full moon. And so this full moon energetic, it lasted over a week. And so we noticed that a couple days prior to the full moon, we started releasing. And so we may have gotten triggered into lower emotional experiences because those densities wanted to be released. And now all of a sudden, we're also starting to see solar activity. And so the solar activity, I think we had like 32 or 33 solar flares hit us. And so that was over the past couple of days. Some people may have felt like a lot of energy or just a change in the way that they were feeling. Some people actually felt like they got knocked down. Many people felt like their fight or flight systems were getting pulsed. And so that's the reason why we started downloading and channeling information about the fight or flight systems. So we're going to go ahead and just read this really, really quickly for you guys. And so, I just had one of my Facebook people tell me that this post basically could have saved someone 20 years of therapy. And so it's all the information you need to really deal with and unpack the lower vibrational traumas, or just at least identify them. Because the second that we start to identify the trauma, then we can start to find help or seek help or figure out or manifest ways of healing that trauma. And so many of these traumas I personally have walked through. And so I'm very experienced in all of them. And then there's another one called freeze. And that was another one I was just communicating on Facebook about. Freeze, it's fight or flight or freeze. And so think about when you're a child, you have options when you are witnessing trauma or tragedy. You could fight. And so sometimes that's done in nature with animals, or you could, flight, which is you leave. But what happens if you're a child and you're in an abusive situation? And so people in the house are yelling and screaming. There's freeze. And the freeze is basically like your body doesn't know what to do. It doesn't see an option. So you just have to freeze and wait it out. Now, I was just in a water park and I went down this crazy slide. I had no business going down this slide. And halfway down the slide, I felt my whole body went into freeze mode because it was terrifying. And I was getting hurt, like it was scratching at my back and it was a nightmare. And then it shot me into like 4 feet of water, which actually felt like someone had just dropped me in the center of the ocean. So I thought I was going to die. It was hilarious. And the whole time, the star people are with me and they're like, you have to just release resistance to the physical reality. And I'm like, the hell with that, I'm going to die, right? This is all happening in a split second in my mind. And then all of a sudden, the second I just let it go and I was like, there's nothing I can do, was the second that the slide was over. And so these things, this is how the physical reality works. And so when you realize this, then you're able to start making changes or, changing the flow of how you feel to these experiences. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Yeah. Oh my God. It was horrible. And it was even worse. This was a rock star mom moment because my 9-year-old daughter, I was like, you go first, go. Because there was no way I was going to leave her at the top of a slide unattended. you have to go first and I'll meet you down there because I go last. I'm the mom. And so she was so angry at me. And she had the same exact experience. She was upset and she was mad for hours at me. You know, you made me go. And I was like, well, I was trying to push her to do something new and be, you know, brave. And it was horrible. It was just a horrible experience. It was funny though. Yeah. So let's read the post because tonight we only have a short amount of time. And so we are doing the inner monthly Zoom session tonight. So as soon as we hang up on the internet here, it's 8 p.m. We start the Zoom for everyone who's in there. And so there's actually a whole lot of seats left for this one. And so if you guys want, some people are probably going to get a very intimate one-on-one with me. So it's good. If nobody comes, then we'll just not do it, but we'll see how it goes. Good morning, Karen. Welcome. Hey, Derek, thank you guys for coming. Okay, so I'm going to read this really, really quick. I just wrote this maybe an hour or two ago, or maybe 3. So this one's called fight or flight systems. Fight or flight systems may become activated during any lower emotional expression and may reflect upon experiences manifest. One such emotional experience from activated fight or flight systems may be social anxiety disorder. This one really stinks. And I didn't understand when I went through this because I'm very social. I will go up to a gas station and start telling people all the spiritual knowledge for hours. And so, but it came to a point where everything shut down and I was like, I can't go in the store. And so I started ordering things and having them delivered to my car. And so then every time I would go into the store, it was like playing bumper cars with the shopping cart. And so, you know, when someone's down the aisle, then I don't go down that aisle. I ring around the aisle and I try and grab what I need and avoid people. That's not me at all. But that's when your fight or flight systems are turned on. And so that is a form of anxiety and stress and all these things that need to be healed. And so the way that you actually heal that one is by coming to terms with the fact that you have to meditate. You have to slow your heart rate. You really have to go inside yourself and come to terms with, okay, well, this is what I'm dealing with. So I'm going to shut it off and I'm going to be more social. Start making these everyday conversations with people and pulling yourself out of that hole. And so, yeah, anyone who's been through it, it's wild. It's wild. Like I'm a ringleader. Like I belong around a lot of people. And so when this shut down, it was like, oh, what's happening? I didn't even know. And so now I understand it more because the star people have been guiding me through this to heal it. And so they told me, but it's embarrassing. Like I was telling you, Karen, I'm like, I don't know if I can share all my personal traumas. They're embarrassing. But the star people are like, you have to. You kind of have to put it out there because people are going to learn and grow from your experiences. So this is what this post is all about. And so let's see. Many times an individual may experience a lower density and they may automatically go into isolation. If that individual stays in isolation for an extended period of time, they may manifest social anxiety. I was in it for 3 years. And so they may drive to a store only to head home, unable to go inside. They may avoid conversations with loved ones and stay inwardly focused on themselves. And so that's the thing about the frequency, because what the star people said, they said that when you tune into the lower frequencies, your perception shifts. And so what that means is instead of being able to focus on the friends and the social and the house and the car or the outside of your house. Now, I used to do all this gardening and I let it go because I was unable to do it. And so, but they said that's normal because your focus or your perception is trying to get you to look inwardly to heal yourself. And so that is what happens when you go through the dark, dense, traumatic experiences, right? And so they said another disorder that stems from the fight or flight systems is depression. Depression is deep rest. Your body needs deep rest in order to really heal itself. This normally activates from trauma-based emotional expressions. When an individual experiences this, their location coding may be reduced in volume, thus limiting the radius of travel during their regular waking hours. So depression, you may stay in bed. You may not even be able to make it to the bathroom. And so I've been through that after my daughter was born. And so that it feels like all of your energy gets drained out of your biological system and it leaves you deep rest. Like you got to wait it out. Right. And so if activated for too long, a disease may manifest as well as the social anxiety disorders because it may be a combined experience. Many times individuals who tune into chemical addiction patterns tend to experience this, and a loss of interest in lifestyle activities may soon follow. Now, who has ever lost interest in doing something that they love? I used to play piano. And so when I went through my narcissism relationships with my first, ex, it was that was something I gave up. And so you'll actually develop trauma lines on your face from that. And so the sad lines are the lines underneath the eyes, and then they can go all the way down. And so that's a lost love. That's sadness. And so it shows up in so many different ways in the physical form. So just be aware of this. Some traumas may also generate a loss of love manifest. This experience usually generates the lines under the eyes. And so it may be healed though. This loss may include, but are not limited to, a loss of a loved activity, music or art, loss of a loved one, a loss of a familiar, which is a pet, or the loss of feeling like being like yourself. Not feeling like yourself shall affect the manifestation of your complete physical reality and the amount of attention spent in the zone of focus. That zone of focus, when you're painting or when you're doing something, it's connecting you directly into bliss. And so when you are directly connected into the bliss frequency, then all of a sudden you're able to tap into like the angelic realms. And so when people do this, when they are in sports or they are in any sort of movement or flow or driving, it is a very deep form of meditation. You're connecting with the source. And then all of a sudden you can fire off your manifestations during that connection. And so this is why another reason when people do art and they connect in this form, that art could be channeled through them and they would just never know. And let me see. When you perceive each dark expression as a frequency range, the fight or flight systems are just an indication of the polarity being experienced. So if your fight or flight systems are activated, you'll know because you'll breathe in the upper lungs. And so that's number one. That's always a cue. I wasn't really doing that. And I was still having the social anxiety. And so there has to be other signs and signals. And so if you don't feel like going out, if you're pacing inside your home, if you're not really doing anything, you're not being social, your fight or flight systems are activated. And so you really want to take control of that. So the star people actually had me start walking in a park. And so even that had a lot of anxiety because if there was other people there, I didn't want them to see me. And so these are all things, it's psychological. And so there is also attachments that have a lot to do with that. Because remember, the lower vibrational attachments, they can push thoughts and emotions in your mind. So if you're tuning into a lower frequency and all of a sudden that attachment latches onto you, then all of a sudden they could generate those emotions at a higher frequency. And then you're thinking it's you, it's not. So you have to go through, you have to clear the emotions, you have to get out of your house, and you have to be social. You have to start talking to people. You have to start making the attempt to put yourself into the uncomfortable situations, like turning a camera on and talking to people online. That was so uncomfortable for me at first. And so, but you have to break out of that shell because it's not healthy to be in the lower frequencies. Now, it's very, very important. A lot of times when we as people, when we see our people that we care about, when we see them diving into these depressions, we stay away from them. That's what we've been taught to do. The television has actually programmed us to, stay away from them. They're bums, they're homeless, they're addicts, they're this, they're that. You label them, you blame them, it's their fault and all this stuff. They actually did a scientific experiment with mice. And so this is really, really interesting. And I would like you all to notice this. But they took two bottles. In one, they put a drug. And the second one, they put clean water. And so they put the rat or the mouse, whatever animal, they put it in a cage. The cage had nothing in it. It was just a blank cage. So like a fish tank. And so the rat always picked the drug every single time in that cage. Then they took the rat and they put him in a Disneyland tank with other rats. And they noticed that the rats in that tank, they never picked the drug. What did they do instead? They were social. They spent time. They hung out. They ate. A couple times they fought because male aggression kicked in with the rats, whatever. But they didn't use the drug. And so that tells us that any type of drug use or chemical addictive patterning, because soda is a drug. I was addicted to that. Coffee, I was addicted to that. I've been addicted to everything. Even food, even sugar. Sugar was the worst one for me. Sugar is worse than any drug on the planet because you won't realize how addictive it is until you try and quit. And so coffee will give you a migraine. You get a headache, right? Caffeine, all these things are stimulants. And so when you take stimulants, you don't realize how it's actually affecting your mind. Short story, long story short, when the rats are in a positive environment, they are not doing the lower frequency things. And so that is really important for each of us to know. So instead of blaming the people for being ill or sick or having a disease or yada, 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 we should be sending them love and light. We should be pulling them out of their environment, or at least trying, or at least having compassion and allowing them to have the experience and telling them it is okay for you to have the experience. When we have compassion for them, it changes their emotional expression. When I was going through my dark night of the soul, I only wanted one person to tell me that they love me. And so I had to pull myself out of that hole on my own. And so when you guys take a look at other people around you, you should see their potential. And so their potential could be anything. They could be 1,000,000% when they are clean, healthy, and feeling loved. And so that's why love is like the most important thing. And so understanding traumas is of high value because it allows solutions of healing to become manifest. Ignoring the darkness shall breed more darkness. Using love and light to heal the darkness shall allow it to transmutate into a higher frequencies. For love shall heal all things. And so that is the message of today. Anybody who has trauma, anyone who is dealing with any sort of emotional baggage, you have to find friends and you have to, or find people, support groups, anything. Facebook has support groups. And so there's stay-at-home mom groups. There's all sorts of people who are, because if any of you guys are dealing with these issues, there's always other people dealing with the issues as well. And so that's it. You just have to find the people who are going through it, or find the people who have already been through it. How did they pull themselves out? What did they do? And so then you make a list, right? This is what they did. So my experiences, what I did is not going to work for everybody, because some people are going to feel like they're unable to pull themselves out of it. And so that's a feeling, that's an emotion code. They just have to use their willpower and try and make the changes, baby step it. Everything with me was a baby step. So it got to one point in my life where I felt like I just couldn't continue. And my back was injured. I was a cripple. It was a nightmare. And so, but that's when just breathe became my mantra. And so with every step I took, I kept saying, just breathe. Just breathe. This is soon going to be over. And that lower frequency, it eventually broke and I rose into happiness. And each and every one of you guys can do the same exact thing. And so I understand that fully. With this full moon, everyone has been going through density removal, the high solar energies. If we're not properly in alignment with the higher frequencies, those solar energies can make us feel kind of crazy. And so it can bring a lot of chaos and all of the stuff. And so just be aware. The Zoom session, I'm going to send links out as soon as I cut the live. And so at 7:30, 7:35, I'm going to hit the end button and then go in and see who ordered seats. There's a lot of seats left. So it's probably, I think I just had one person purchase a seat. So there's probably going to be like 1 or 2 people there. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, excellent. Does anybody have any questions? How has everyone's week been going? I mean, my week has been very busy. We spent time at a water park. It was the first vacation my kids took. And so they had me up and down the stairs all over the place. Yeah. Can I explain more about paralysis dream or lucid dreaming, where people feed emotion, anger, or fear in the dream? There's actually beings or entities that do that in our dreams as well. And so I had a dream. It had to be like 7 years ago. And so I had a dream that I could control the weather. In a dream, I was at the window, I was making it snow. And then my cat was there by the window. And then he had bitten my thumb off and I went running down the hallway. And then I was like, oh, wait, this is a dream. That was an entity who did not want me to learn that I could control the weather. And so that's real. Now, it was funny because the dream woke me up in real life. And so when I woke up, it was actually snowing, but it was November in New York. It was not supposed to snow that early. It was early November. So in my mind, I was like, oh my God, in the dream, I made it snow and now it's snowing. It was just wild, but that's actually how it works. And so we have something called dream walkers, and dream walkers are people who can go into their dreams and become lucid, and they can change or manifest things in the dreams. And then when they come back to the waking world, what they're doing is they're setting their magnetism in the lucid dream. And so that when they wake up, it's generating a timeline switch in which whatever it is that they wish to manifest came into the physical reality. And so this is a real ability. Each and every one of us can start working on it. Yeah. People feel emotion or fear in the dream. Any anger or fear in the dream, it's always a sign. It's showing us something that we need to handle. And so where do we order seats? Oh, DanielleLipton.com. And so DanielleLipton.com, it's, I think the second one down, Star People Inner Monthly Group Session. Yeah. Awesome. So let's see anybody else have questions? Yeah. Sandy Star. None of my experiences. Thank you, Karen. I hit the button. I don't know how to do this. Sometimes I hit the button on the comments and it just blanks them out. And it's like, it's gone. Yeah. I don't know how to work this thing. I think I might have that going in my dreams. I need to work on that. Any advice? I normally call in my guides. And so whenever I'm starting to do any type of dream work, I'm like, thank you, star people, for guiding me and protecting me. And so thank God the star people are guiding me and protecting me, because actually last week I had an episode with my car. And so I had a dream. In the dream, I was holding a firecracker and I was like, it popped and I was like, oh, it didn't hurt me. Let me see if it'll hurt my car. And so then I lit it and I stuck it on the door handle. And my starman, he was like, stop. And like the whole dream had ended there. And so some of you guys know I had an issue with the oil in my car. And so the oil in my car, I had an oil change done and he didn't tighten the bolt. And then all of a sudden, all the oil was all over all the streets around my house. And so that was part of the dream, the star people said, because they were like, in a dream, you put the firecracker on your car and it destroyed your car. And then all of a sudden, in the real waking world, there was a timeline in which that mechanic messed up your car, the oil drained, and then it fried your car died. And so that is part of the dream walker ability. We have to take these abilities baby steps, because if we, you're changing the magnetism of the timeline and all that stuff. This is a manifestation, but it's stronger when you're doing it in the dream realm. Think about it. You can't get hurt in the dream realm. So you're picking and choosing. And now I've also had dreams where I was picking and choosing situations that happened in the civilization when, 2020 came around, or no, was it when all that virus stuff came around? Then I was picking and choosing things in the civilization like they were cereal boxes. And so, but then when I opened my eyes and I was in the waking world, I started seeing those things play out. And I was like, oh my God, I just dreamed that. And there it is. So yeah, it happens. And so it's just part of our multi-dimensional nature and our abilities that we actually have. I had a weird dream running away from people in the woods. Okay, so you have to break that down. I would get a dream book. And so what does the woods mean? I would Google, what does the woods mean? The woods is the connection to the earth, the star people are saying. And so when you have a connection to the earth, then all of a sudden, it's kind of like, what are you running away from on planet Earth, they're saying. And so there's something you're running away from, because even if you're running towards something, you don't have it already, or you're running away from fear. So you have to break it down. What do you see in your real life, in the real physical reality? Do you see anything that you don't like, that you don't have? Right. And so you start breaking down, what does it mean? Write it down, and then keep a track of your dreams, because then all of a sudden you're going to take a look back and you're going to realize, oh, okay, so I had all of these dreams, and then this and this happened. So a journal is like the key, because when you are, it's like spelling, and this is how magicians in the past used to do it. They used to do spells. Well, a spell is actually taking your words and writing it on paper, because what you're doing is you're expressing throughout your creativity, and you are making it manifest into the physical reality. That piece of paper, those words, it's real in the physical world now, because you put it on paper. And so this is the reason why we write contracts. This is the reason why we notarize things, because we are making it real. We are making an agreement. It's a binding contract. When you write something, even if you're writing a book, you are having a binding contract into the physical world. And that is because you are putting that information out. Multiple people are going to see it. And then it's going to affect the collective consciousness manifestation ability, the star people are saying. So be aware. Now, when you start writing down, okay, I had this dream and this happened, and this dream and this happened. Now I'm waking up in the dream, I'm becoming lucid, and I'm going to start telling the dream what I want to see. And so then you do that, and then all of a sudden, what happened in the real world? Did you see it? Because you might have seen a tiny bit of whatever it was that you're trying to manifest. These things, they always start with the safety on. And so the safety on basically is time space, because I could say I want $1 million, but time space is going to make it so that according to my belief system, it's going to take X, Y, and Z to manifest it. That's actually what the star people refer to as the safety is on. You don't want to manifest a Godzilla or a dinosaur to eat you. And so there's time space. And so it gives you time to change or modify your emotional expression and change what it is that you're going to magnetize into your physical world. And so that time is a blessing. It really is, because it's like the holographic safety is not. So you don't have to worry about blowing yourself up. Yeah. Okay. So you wanted to know if Jesse still loves you. See, That's not the type of information the star people give. It's very empowering, the information that they give. They want to make it so that we learn how to harness our own abilities. And so our ability starts in the now moment. So what is it that you wish to see? You can't make another person love you. So if you feel like he is not loving, caring, kind to you, or if you feel like maybe he was very negative or put you down, then is that something that you're willing to accept? Or is that something that, so that comes into your boundary rings. And so your boundary rings are going to say, it's basically telling the world, this is what I'm willing to accept. And so my boundary rings are tighter than tight right now. No one's allowed to yell at me. No one's allowed to curse at me. No one's allowed to make negative or rude remarks to me. I don't want to hear anything negative. Go away. That's it. I love you, love and light, but you're not allowed to have access to my energy. And so that we only gain when we walk through traumas and experiences. So it depends on what you walk through in your relationship with him. You know, everyone is different. One I did what you said about the casting love with the triangle hands, and the demon fell on his back, but he got back up after. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. The more love you share, right? And so, and this also, you can even activate, there's elemental rings that we can activate around our biological form. They're blue. And so you just call upon them. They're rings, they're big, and then they'll float up and down. And you just ask them to manifest and ask them to protect you. I think I have a post on that. Yeah. How can we change our previous self-harm thoughts? Okay, so self-harm comes, that's another one I've dealt with. Self-harm comes when we're in that low, it's actually lower than depression frequency range. And so when you dive into that low frequency, the universe is going to have you come inside yourself. Once again, isolation may even come into play with that. And so you have to take a look at yourself. What are some aspects about yourself that you love and you appreciate? What are some of your good things that you like? Do you like your eyes? Do you like your lips? Do you like the way you look? Right? You start small, make a list. And so those are things that are yours. You own them. They belong to you. What are your gifts and abilities? Now, what things do you have natural attunements to? Can you play music? Can you do art? You know, it all depends on how you feel about yourself. But self-harm is usually telling you you're harming yourself because you're not loving yourself. And so you have to start to self-love yourself. That starts with self-chatter or self-talk. And so you really start coming in and start saying, I love you, body, even if you may not feel it right at the moment because you're in that harm phase. Keep telling yourself, I love my body. I love my experience. Take that one breath. Just breathe. And then keep changing your environments and the people around you. Because a lot of times people who self-harm is because there's so much negativity and chaos energy among the people and the environmental around them. Take yourself out of that location. Surround yourself with funny people. You're not going to want to harm yourself when you're surrounded by funny people because they're going to make you laugh all day, right? So have a look at your location and the people around you and start making moves to pull yourself out. No one is going to do it for you. I mean, maybe in someone else's reality, maybe they have someone who's like an angel and plucks them out. But for the most part, we are responsible to pull ourselves up and out of our own hole. And so you dive into the darkness and just have that mindset. I have to do this myself. And so no one's going to change it for me. I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to write a list. And so what is my list going to say? I'm going to go outside. I'm going to go talk to the birds. I'm going to go have a relationship with the animals because they're not going to be mean to me. Start small, right? Go talk to the trees. You can even talk to the elementals, earth, air, fire, water. You can have full-blown conversations with them. It's not crazy. Do it alone. And so when you start to actually make an emotional connection with the elementals. And then all of a sudden, because you're sending them love, they'll actually grant you access into changing or modification of them. And so start small. And then when you're ready for it, ask for help. And so anybody who feels like they want to harm themselves, always ask for help, because I'm telling you, the level of trauma that I was at once upon a time in my past, it really wasn't even that long ago. It's 2019. And so the level of depression and all that stuff I was at, my entire life shifted into a very, very positive. And so this happens because when we dive into the low frequencies, it actually has the potential to slingshot us into the crystalline realms. And so that specifically is because if you look at the way a frequency wave works, it goes up, it goes down. There's a middle line. And so the darkness that you walk it slingshots you up. And so this is similar as the story in Christ. And so Jesus Christ, he walked through his traumas and the why me's and all that stuff, but then he slingshotted into the crystalline realms. And so anybody who is thinking or contemplating self-help or self-harm, just know that you could just be going through that cycle and it could slingshot you. So you should always wait it out, you know. So a starseed person, I should recognize his actions, demonstrate his feelings towards me. How do I properly resolve the lingering feelings I still have for him? Let me see. I don't know. I read that wrong. You should always be like watching everybody's feelings, though. If somebody is casting negative feelings at you or any of that stuff, right, you have to really take a look and yeah, cutting cords, smudging, that's great. But if someone is downright rude or nasty or any type of negative, if you feel drained after you're having a conversation with someone, then that generally means you should throw a boundary ring up. And so if they're pulling on your energy and taking your energy and you feel less happy, it's not worth it, right? And so you really want to start to rebalance yourself. Now, a lot of times when we throw the boundary rings up and we rebalance ourselves, then we can come back around at a later time and be around those negative people and they won't have that pull because we'll be strong. And so that's part of this too. The boundary rings come into play when you're at the lower frequencies and you're learning how to step into your true power and potential. And so the second that your vibration is very, very high, or even your oscillation, your emotions, the second that you're very, very happy and healthy is the second you can be around toxic people. You could be helping them, and then it's not going to have an effect on you. And you won't even have to worry about the attachments, because a lot of times when you vibe high enough, they see that your energetic grids become activated and they stay away from you. Yeah, you can't take back words. So think very carefully before you speak. That's absolutely true. Words can cut like butter. And so if you say the wrong thing to the wrong person, they will turn and walk away from you. And so I know, because now I'm one of those people. If someone curses me out, I'm out and I walk away right away. Because if they're casting that type of negative energy, you don't know what they're going to do behind your back, right? So you want to be with people who you can trust. And not only that, if you take a look at your top 5. So have a good look. Each and every one of you guys have a good, I cut every single cord every single night, right? And so that allows my energy to be mine. And so even my children, I love them to pieces. Every single day, I will cast new loving cords at every single person I come across. However, at the end of the night, I'm cutting all the cords and I'm generating a source frequency cord. That source frequency cord, it goes into Mother Earth and it goes into the source frequency grid. And so in that, I allow it to rebalance me while I sleep. And so have a good night, Derek. Yes. Yeah, just that's what I do. And so it actually lets my energetic heal itself. And so you can actually feel a difference when you start doing this more and more. So yeah, excellent. Okay, so we are going to end now, though. So we do have the inner monthly Zoom starting at 8. So I'm going to log off in 2 minutes, and then I'm going to go check. There really wasn't anybody who purchased seats. So I think we had a couple people, like 2 or 3. And so this is going to be a very, very intimate Zoom. So you guys will have plenty of opportunity to ask me the one-on-one questions. And so it does get recorded. If you guys want the recording links, just send me a message and then I can get the link to you. So, or send me your email, either anything works. Okay. And then I do offer sessions. I offer healing sessions. I offer regular sessions. All that stuff is at DanielleLipton.com. If anybody has any questions that you guys want to see on the next live, any questions about trauma or healing, or even if you just want to vent, DanielleLipton.com has a little message box. And so you can send me messages and then I write them all down and I'll answer them on the next live I do. And so, yeah, beautiful. And right there, I just saw 3333 right on the live counter. And so 333 is actually the source frequency number. And so I think that that's perfect to end the video off with that type of synchronicity. So many, many love and blessings. And I hope to see you guys in the inner monthly Zoom. You have a great night.